Today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, fact or fiction, open phones, timing belts. Do you have one of those, and should you be concerned? What do you think?
Well, I don't know if you should be concerned right now. It depends on how many miles have clicked over on your odometer. But we talked a little bit last week about maintenance and the cost of ownership. And throughout that conversation, in the second go, we talked about in the first 30,000 miles, you had some stuff. Then the next 30, you hit 60, and then 90, of course. That's when the bigger budget items start coming in that you need to plan for. And the timing belt certainly is one of those items. So if you're starting to teeter around 55,000 miles or maybe 57, you're in for your oil change, you should be asking, does my car have a timing belt, and what's the service interval? Because they're all over the board. Some are 60, some are 90, some are 80, 105, 120. But then there's severe service, Dave. Ooh, it's 105. You got to do it at 60 because it's hot here. I don't know if I agree with that. So it's a conversation that you need to have.
Well, the reason this comes up and the reason this is a topic, a good friend of mine pulls me aside at church a couple weeks ago and he says, "Hey, Dave, I'm putting a fuel pump in my Honda, but it's not working." And he struggled with it for a couple weeks before he finally threw in the towel. Well, he had a broken timing belt. He had bought the vehicle with high mileage. It was actually a Honda Civic with 160,000 miles on it. And the timing belt broke, and it's a big job because that one is an interference motor, or what I call a valve crasher. The timing belt keeps everything in time between the top of the engine where the valves are and the bottom of the engine where the crankshaft is. And when that disconnects, it's catastrophic, major repair.
Kablamo.
Kablamo. And this isn't all vehicles. Some vehicles are what we call freewheeling. So when the timing belt does break or fail, there is no contact between the pistons and the valves.
Yeah, so what's happened, the pistons are going up and down, boom, 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 up and down, synchronized, and the valves are opening and closing just perfectly timed, hence the timing belt. And you're driving along, that belt breaks. Those valves stop moving wherever they are, open, and then here comes the piston on the upstroke, and bam, smashes it. And serious engine trouble from just maybe lack of preventive maintenance. Although we do see some cars, a little premature failure on those.
Well, there is some cars where the recommendation may be 90,000 miles, but I honestly believe the recommendation should be 80,000 miles because I've seen them fail at 85,000 miles and they don't even make it to the 90. So that's where the relationship with your mechanic is going to come in. If he's seeing a certain type of vehicle and seeing the failures on it and saying, wow, these things they're barely making it to 90. Let's not wait to 90 to do your timing belt because we're not talking, the timing belt repair is expensive and it is uncomfortable, but if you don't have the money to take care of the timing belt as maintenance, you're certainly not going to have the money to do a major engine repair with the heads off.
Yeah, that's big time. And then there's severe service, which Dave and I don't necessarily agree on. I mean, I would agree in Arizona we are severe service, and that's going to be the case definitely on fluids like transmission fluids, coolants, anything that lubricates. But if you look at the definition of severe service on many cars, it says consistently being driven in conditions above 105 degrees. Well, we do that 3 or 4 months out of the year. And I hear some places taking 105 normal maintenance and then jamming it down their throat at 60 because it's severe. I'm not necessarily on the same page with that. I'd maybe split the baby, go 90. But again,
I'm with that, but it says 105 degrees severe. What does it say about over 110 or 115? I mean, that's really severe. We're not even going there.
Consistently, though.
Consistently.
So, but it goes back to the relationship and having having someone that understands how you operate your car, what you intend to do with that car, how long you're going to keep it, and just exactly how you're going to use it and treat the car.
Well,
what are your priorities?
I was going to read off a few because this may not even apply to you. It may not be your conversation, but I was taking a quick poll here around the studio, and Aaron, who does the news, he's got a Mazda 6 with about 80,000 miles on it. And I was looking at Mazda, and it says inspect at 60 and then replace at 90. Now, there was so many different little variations between this engine size and that engine size, and is it California emissions? Some of them, they have a different interval for the belt replacement depending on if you're from California or not. I don't get that one.
Yeah.
But talk to Rob, talk to Mark. One's got a Nissan, one's got a Honda. Honda's typically what I'm seeing is 90,000 miles, I would say, is an average for all of them. Then you've got Volkswagen, you've got Audi. Those are starting to be popular cars on the road. There's a lot of them out there. You had an Audi in your shop not too long ago, came in with a busted timing belt. How many miles was on that?
92,000 miles, and it was recommended at 90. Valve crasher, bent the valves. Big problem. I mean, and there's a lot, and that gal didn't, she just didn't take care. I mean, we've been warning her, timing belt's coming up, and then once we got in there was a slew of other problems unrelated to the timing belt because she wasn't using synthetic oil, which is required in the Volkswagens nowadays, other damage, but it can be a mess. But then not only are we doing the timing belt, now when you're in there doing the timing belt, there's so many other components related to that timing belt. So the question is maybe, do I have a timing belt on my car, and when should I replace the timing belt? But should I replace the timing belt components, meaning everything that timing belt touches?
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Let's talk about a Toyota Camry, very common car, 3-liter. I believe the recommendation is at 90,000 miles. The water pump is driven by the timing belt. What should a timing belt on a vehicle like that cost to do it right? And you know how I talk about, I've seen these advertisements for timing belts for $300.
$399.
$399 all day long. Nah.
That's what you call a lost leader. They're going to put a timing belt on there, and they won't have this conversation with you until your car's apart. Kind of the old transmission shop of the, we got to take it apart before we can tell you. Well, they don't tell you that. They're going to put a timing belt on that. If you're in a jam, yeah, okay. But they know, these $399 lost leader guys, that they're going to take that apart, and then they're going to call you and go, well, Mrs. Jones, we took this apart, and I would really suggest replacing the timing belt components and the water pump and blah, blah, blah. And the reason is the water pump is driven by the timing belt. There's a tensioner that keeps proper tension. There's some other rollers that keep it working and angled and just serpentining around the way that it should. But if you got 90,000 miles out of your water pump, it doesn't owe you anything, and it's all the same labor. Once you're doing the timing belt, that water pump is staring in the face. It's a few more minutes to put a new one on. Take advantage of dropping the coolant at the same time. But we can get into some more detail about that, especially if anybody has any questions, if you want to get in.
How much should it cost a timing belt? You said $399. We all know that's not true. That's the old bait and switch,
right?
Coupon tactic. Don't fall for that. We were talking about a Camry with a 3-liter V6, and we said a water pump and a tensioner is a good idea. You might think about some belts and hosers. There's some discretion there as far as hosers, as far as how far you want to go. But give me a range.
Okay. You're never going to do just the timing belt. So we talked about when you're opening up the engine, the front of the engine, and gaining all that access, first you've got to take the regular belts off for the air conditioner, the power steering, whatever you have. So there's 2 items. Then you're going to do the timing belt. Once you get the timing belt off, there's a hydraulic tensioner that you should replace. Might be a couple rollers, for the belt that help keep the tension on the belt. You want to definitely replace the water pump. Like we said, it's not going to last another 90,000. It's not going to last as long as your new timing belt. And if that water pump fails and starts leaking, you're just going to have to do the job over again.
Twice.
No big deal. But if that water pump fails and has a bearing failure and breaks, causes the belt to break, well, now you've just negated the whole reason for doing the job the right way in the first place. Then some cars, it's on the front, if the engine's longitudinal, in that you can think about that for a second. It's easier a lot of times, like a Subaru, you want to pop the radiator out. It just makes it easier for us. So, you've got that out. Why not throw upper and lower radiator hose on? You've got 90,000 miles. So there's a difference, like we always say. We can do the job or how much more to do it right. But that's a big window. Probably $800 to $1,200 is what you would expect to spend, maybe $1,300. And that goes Camry, Audi, Volkswagen, most of them across the board. 4 cylinders are a little bit cheaper, and I don't like to say what prices are because it's so subjective. But I can tell you, your $800 job is not the same job that you're getting for $1,200. There is a huge difference.
Or for $395.
$395, you're just scratching. Yeah, I mean that's all I've got, and I just got to get a time belt in there to be safe, and I understand that.
Yeah. Well, I am looking at the board, and everyone on the board has a 1999. So today is 1999 day, and I'm going to leave here and go buy a lottery ticket. Let's go with Loretta in Phoenix on a 1999 Dodge 2500 with a 5.9-liter diesel. Go ahead, Loretta. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning. My truck has 178,000 miles on it, and I'm having 3 problems. hard starting, and excessive fuel consumption, and since I bought new tires, it's wandering on the highway.
Okay. Where do we start, Dave?
Did you change tire sizes or anything like that?
No. Same brand, same size.
Same brand, new tires, all of a sudden it feels different. Well, now they got tread on them, and the ones you took off probably didn't have tread.
That's true.
So did they align the truck at the same time?
No.
Okay. I would start there as far as getting that thing aligned, and they're going to find out if there's anything with excessive play as far as ball joints and idler arms and 170,000 miles. There will be some worn components unless you've already replaced them in that front end.
But don't just go in and say, I need an alignment. Because that might be what you just end up with is an alignment, and that's may not do you any good. Go in and talk to them about your symptoms. Try and be specific. How fast am I going? Am I on the road? Am I catching ruts?
Okay.
And then the other one was a hard starting?
Right. It'll start the first time. I have a fuel pressure light indicator, and the first time in the day it will start. But each subsequent start, I'm having to try to start it, turn it off, try again, turn it off, and eventually it starts. But there's something wrong.
Hey, what are your cross streets in Phoenix, Loretta?
Cave Creek and Thunderbird.
Cave Creek and Thunderbird. On that, I think that's a common rail diesel in that thing.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like it might be sucking some vacuum or sucking some air through the fuel lines, or it's losing its fuel prime potentially. It could be a carbon issue. Those do get really carboned up and built up.
There's a lift pump, and then there's an injector pump on those. But, you're not too far from Kurt's Auto Repair, which is I-17 in Bell, and they do a lot of diesel work, and they're guys you can go to them, hand the keys across the counter, and just know you're going to be well taken care of. So,
well, Kurt's is also a Bosch Diesel Service Center.
We actually have 3 of those Bosch Diesel Centers. We've got Kurt's Auto Repair, Virginia Auto Service, and then we've got ADS and Chandler, all 3 Bosch Service Centers. So that's a big deal.
But then the mother hen or whatever for all the diesel service centers for the Bosch is Southwest Diesel, who is also part of the group.
And diesel is very much a specialty. But they're showing up more in cars. Volkswagens, TDIs.
It's coming.
The technology has gotten way, way, way better.
You go to Europe, everything is diesel. Toyota pickup is diesel. Your BMW is a diesel. Everything. So it won't be long before we're all driving diesels.
Well, we're pretty behind the times. Hey, speaking of our timing belt question, we got an email this week. A guy had a Hyundai it was a Hyundai or a Kia. I confused the two.
They're both Korean, and
that's why I'm going there.
But those are some of the ones that we see where the timing belts fail a little early. Now, I think they've improved in the last handful of years, but they had a 60,000 mile interval, and we'd see those breaking at 58, 59. And if you got lucky, the belt shredded and wiped out the crankshaft sensor and made the car stall before it
wrecked the valves.
But the question from Ron Paul, now I don't know if it was really Ron, the Ron Paul, but 5-year-old car, 51,000 miles. He went in for an oil change, and they're trying to tell him he needed do the 60,000 mile service now. He says a laundry list of flushes and power steering and fuel system. Ron, I think you need to go find a relationship with a shop who understands your needs and how you're using your car, not just that wants to sell you some work. Because that is true. Some things are with time and some aren't.
And it looks like we're going to go with Dave on a 1999 Toyota Corolla who's in Gilbert. Go ahead, Dave. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What is going on with your Corolla, Dave?
Not so much a problem with it, but you're talking about timing belts, and I have a timing chain. I had one with the 82 Toyota truck, and it broke on me. And I wonder if that's possible with the Corolla I have now, because they're supposed to last the life of the car, from what I understand.
Those timing chains typically never break, but what they do is the timing chain tensioner wears out on them, and then you get the chain slapping around inside the timing chain cover. Some of the Nissans we used to see, they'd actually wear a hole in the cover and start leaking oil.
Mm-hmm.
But on the Corolla, it's typically not a maintenance item that you need to worry about. They're going to stretch. It's like a bicycle chain or any other metal. Over time it will stretch, and but not unless you have a symptom. You're really never going to need to worry about
timing chains.
Timing
Now there is some vehicles on some of these Nissans, you start to get noisy timing chains where you can tell there's a problem. If you've got a good shop out in Gilbert, Dave, is Desert Car Care. Frank Lloyd's up there. Next time you're in there for a service, you say, hey, you know what? I'm just curious, and they can actually hear a timing chain starting to get noisy or starting to make noise. So a guy that's really tuned into it. And there's a lot of other vehicles with timing chains out there, but I remember those old Toyota trucks where the tensioners would go bad. And
the 22RE or the 22R, the 22RE, which is the electronic or the fuel-injected one, the Nissan 240SX had a lot of problems, and that same engine was in 2.4 liter in the Nissan truck, had a lot of problems with the timing chain stretching.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Dave. Let's go with Jerry on a 1999 Camry. I told you it's a 1999 day. Go ahead, Jerry. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, I have a 99 Camry, 166,000 miles, and the AC blows cold, and the passenger vent, when you put it on high or whatever speed, the passenger vent, perfect. The center vents are so wimpy that on high it wouldn't even blow a match out. The driver's vent is pretty wimpy also, and I found out that this car does not have a cabin air filter. So what do you think?
Well, on one hand, I want to think that maybe the evaporator is restricted a little bit, but that's not necessarily going to discriminate,
Between
right
one side or the other.
Right vent or left vent, depending on how the air is directed on the other side of the evaporator, Dave. So could be some loose ductwork. If anybody's ever gone there and replaced a heater core or something, maybe didn't put it back together right. I guess one thing to do is try and work your way up underneath there, maybe pop the glove box out and see if you have a lot of air turbulence moving around behind the dash. Maybe you've got ductwork that popped off. The other thing, maybe just clean you can take the blower motor out, and that might give you access to see maybe with a mirror or a camera to see if the evaporator is plugged up and try and clean it.
Now, in a Camry, would a mode door be discriminate between one vent or the other?
It could.
It sounds like, those center vents are going to have one duct that comes to them, so it sounds like maybe a piece of ductwork came loose or something over the miles.
Sucked up a piece of trash off the floor. You might find a hamburger wrapper stuffed up in there. Seriously, it's happened. Or I've had rodents build nests and things. You'd be amazed at what we find in air conditioning ductwork. So
thanks so much for the call, Jerry. 602-277-5827, 602-277 KTAR. We've got a couple open lines. Let's go with Alan in Mesa. Looks like a 1986 Ranger. Go ahead, Alan. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Oh, yes. Good morning. I've had this truck since 85, bought it brand new, and the great thing I like about it has the dual tanks. And so I think it's the only year they had that on the Ranger, and it was great because we spent 3 years traveling across the country, camping and whatever. But on the rear tank, lately, as I drive, I have gas in it, but it'll conk out on me. I switch it over to the front tank, and it starts right up, and it's fine. But I don't know just exactly what's going on with the rear tank. I've replaced the sender a couple of times over the 25 years. I guess it's an antique now, but...
Well, that's what I was going to say. Most of those, they're all going to have their own fuel level sensor. So if it's starting to sputter and you switch over, that's because you're getting fuel. You could have a couple things going on in that other tank, the one that is not working. It could just simply be that the fuel gauge sending unit is wrong and you're really out of gas. Or it could be over the years when you've changed out that sending unit or the fuel pump assembly. There's a small hose that connects the pump to the hanger, and we see those hoses split. So you might drop below the fuel level there where it's sucking air instead of fuel. So it might be something just simple. Pop it out, take a look at it. Chances are, it's either one of those two. Something's going on inside that tank more than likely.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Alan. Let's go with Todd in Scottsdale on a 1996 Nissan Maxima. Go ahead, Todd. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
My question is that the antenna is down and won't come up, and I only get 3 stations on the radio.
Okay, so you've got a power antenna that doesn't go all the way up. Does it click and make noises, or just go up and stop?
It's down now, but it won't go up now.
Okay, when you turn the radio on and off, does it make any noise?
No.
No. Okay, well, there's a couple things that happen. I mean, that antenna might just be dead, and it's just not working. When you turn on the radio, there's a relay and a signal. It goes back to the antenna, shoots the antenna up. Turn it off, it's going to come down. Well, that over time, there's some plastic gears in there on antenna, and that antenna inside, as it goes down, it's actually winding up inside the car, inside the antenna, and those break over time. That's why I asked you if it was clicking or making noise. And if it was, it's not too hard to take that apart, take all the pieces out, and get just the mast instead of the whole antenna assembly. It sounds in your case like either there's a control issue, or you have the the antenna itself, just the electric motor gave up the ghost, so to speak, and just doesn't work anymore. Not too difficult to figure out. Any one of the bumper-to-bumper shops could take care of that for you, or even just a stereo shop. Well, let's go. I think we hit Mike in Santan with his '06 Acura because he has a timing belt question, and so does Bob after that we're going to get to. So, Mike, you're up.
Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Great. Thanks for calling. What can we help you with today?
Hey, I just brought my TL into the Acura dealer, and they said that with the 73,000 miles on it, they said I should think about replacing the timing belt on it. But I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's making any noise, and I just don't know if I should drop the $1,800 to have them do it, or if I should do it myself, or if I should just wait for it to go.
You don't want to wait for it to go, and I'm not sure because the consequences of waiting for it to go could be, I'm pretty sure that's an interference motor or what I would call a valve crasher. I'd be 99.9% sure.
That's what they did say.
Yeah, without looking it up. Most of the Hondas that I'm seeing in an Acura is a Honda. Service intervals are about 90,000 miles.
Well, they're 90. Get your owner's manual out because Dave and I have been fighting about this. I think all the late model, at least that late model Acura, they are 105,000 miles. And if someone's trying to tell you to do that at 75,000, I think
too young.
Somebody, the shop might have been a little slow that day. And I hate to say it like that.
Just kind of hold off, you think, or
well, put it in your budget for a couple years down the road, depending on how much you drive every year. But
yeah, I was planning on doing it myself because I'm kind of that guy who doesn't fix or have people do it. I always do everything myself. So I actually had gone out and priced out the tensioner and the belt itself, and I think it ended up coming out to like $120-something bucks.
Mike, I'm going to tell you, it's insurance. Don't, unless you're super mechanically inclined, I absolutely would not be doing that timing belt job myself. There's too much to risk.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you're off a tooth,
if you're off, it's going to take you all day. First of all, it's going to take you an entire day. I mean, that job is probably 5 or 6 hours. So it's going to be all day. I think it's too much to risk. And again, you want to do the timing belt components. But send us an email. Go to bumpertobumperradio.com. Send us an email. Get me your VIN number in the email and your mileage, and we'll do some specific research for your car, let you know how difficult it is, and I'll get you some info, and we'll help you with that.
Well, today we are talking about timing belts, so it's only appropriate that we talk to Bob in surprise, on a 2003 Toyota. Go ahead, Bob. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
I got a 2003 Toyota Celica GT, and I'm wondering if it has a timing belt, and it's about 74,000 miles on it. Should I change it out? What should I do? Should I leave it in?
Well, I'm not sure on the Celica as far as timing belt, but I'm pretty sure it does. But one of the questions you're asking, Bob, and I always think about how long are you keeping the vehicle? What is your?
I'm gonna keep it till the wheels fall off of it.
To the wheels fall of it. Well, I like to tell people, because they say, well, do I do it at 80? Do I do it at 90? Do I do it at 110? I would say on a Toyota, I'm guessing it's about a 90,000. And Matt's over there trying to look this up real quick to see if
really 90,000. Wow, that's quite a bit of miles.
So, but whether you do it at 80 or 90 or 110, whatever it may be, if you're there and you're going to keep the car a long time, I don't think it makes too much of a difference. If you want to do it a little early, I mean, you can do it again. If you do it now at 80, you can do it at 160.
About the cost?
Well, it's peace of mind, and I don't know specifically. Some of those Toyotas have changed. There's been Hondas that are adding change. So off the top of our head, I don't know. One thing you do is look in your owner's manual, or again, if you want to go to bumpertobumperradio.com, get us some specific information about your car, and Dave and I will tell you exactly. Or you go to bumpertobumperradio.com, find one of the shops that's close to you, and get some information. Just give any one of them a call, and they'll help you. They'll help you with it.
All right.
So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that's a good call, and I think something that everybody can, because you need to find out does your car have a timing belt, and then B, is it a valve crasher, or you'll hear it referred to as interference or freewheeling. Mm-hmm. So those are the two details you need to know as far as your concern level for do I need a timing belt.
Yeah, and do the, and again, we talked about you can buy a timing belt component kit that's going to have all the timing stuff. You can buy it with the water pump. You can do it a number of different ways. So if you're in a shop, again, and they want you to do the timing belt, talk to them about the mileage. When is it recommended under normal service? When is it recommended under severe? Why do you recommend it now versus waiting until whenever? And what else goes along with it? How do we make this a thorough and complete job?
Well, I have people that will put it off because it's not comfortable to spend money on a timing belt because you don't get anything for it. I'd rather put a set of wheels and tires on my car because I can see something. But a timing belt is something I really feel no visible benefit from, and it's an invisible product.
There's no perception of value because the car oftentimes runs the same, looks the same. I mean, everything's the same. You get some, you just can't see it.
And be a smart automotive owner because a lot of people say it's not comfortable, so they don't do it. If you don't have the money to do it the first time, you're not going to have the money to do the head when the head is all busted up. And I've seen these things. I mean, they can be super expensive. We've got Sharon we're about to take. She's got a 03 Civic. I would imagine to repair the head on that thing could be $2,000 easily.
Could be. That's what your buddy's car was. Sharon, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we do for you today?
Hi, guys. Yeah, thank you for taking the call, and I'm going to be a little off topic.
That's okay.
My mom's Honda, she had all the fluids traded out in May of 2010 at 19,000 miles. The car is now at 23,000 miles. It lives in a garage. Do I need to take it in and have those fluids exchanged out again?
No.
Okay.
No, I would.
We do the oil all the time, no matter what, but even if it sits. But
at my shop, Virginia Auto Service, we have a lot of widowed customers, a lot of older women and even men, for that matter.
My mom.
And typically what we'll do when they don't drive that kind of mileage, we'll put them on the 6-month plan, we call it. We're going to change the oil every 6 months regardless. The oil's still never worn out, but what you're getting with that, you're getting the benefit of our eyes to look everything over and just make sure the tire pressures are up, make sure the spare is good, make sure the battery's going to be working. She doesn't want to go out to go to church on Sunday the very few times and then have a dead battery. You don't need those inconveniences. And most of those fluids, only the coolant.
The coolant's the only one that aged really, to me, seems like it would need to be. I like how she said traded out, not flushed.
They sucked it all out, I mean, we didn't just drain it. They put it on a machine and then the things.
Yeah.
However that works.
It was probably a good idea to do them when you did last year. May have been a little bit of overkill, but just, and if you don't have a shop that you're comfortable with or you want one, bumpertobumperradio.com, Accurate Automotive, Lee Weatherby, he's a Honda Acura specialist. He was like Honda Guru of the Year, dealership guy, several years ago. So that might be a good resource. And he's the kind of guy, you'll go in there to ask him, spend 5 minutes for a question. He'll be telling you so much. You better bring a notepad, and it won't cost you a dime.
Well, thanks so much for the call, Sharon. Let's go with Red real quick on a 2005 Ford F-150. Go ahead, Red. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, guys. I guess I'm going to be a little bit off topic. I'm not talking today about a timing belt issue.
That's fine, but we are a little bit short on time, so hopefully we can get to you. So go for it.
All right. Well, I have this cracking and popping noise when I turn real hard to the left or to the right, and I've been told it's a bearing issue. But when I have the truck jacked up and I wiggle the wheels, I don't have any top-to-bottom movement, and there's just a little bit like side to side,
Cracking and popping. So it's sitting still in the parking lot, and it makes noises, or?
No, I mean, if I drive at low speeds, turning like with the steering wheel all the way to the left or all the way to the right, then it's just like crackle, crackle, crackle. You know what I mean?
I'm not sold on the bearings for something like that. I mean, I don't know, weirder things have happened, but I'm thinking more of power steering, rack and pinion, tie rod end type of family.
Ball joint. I mean, one thing for the bearing, easy. Get on a street where it's open. You can go 15, 20 miles an hour. And if you ever watch racing, you see them warming the tires. A little bit more gentle. Just swerve slightly left, slightly right. And if you start getting a change, and then it's quiet when you go the other direction, you're unloading and loading the wheel bearing. That's the easiest test for the wheel bearing.
Okay.
But otherwise, make sure everything's lubricated, all the Zerk fittings, if it has any, or greased. You just need to... And then somebody needs to probably test drive it with you or get it into a shop that can do front-end work and take a look. Any one of the bumper-to-bumper shops.